We have Jean Bender here, who is with the Davenport, Evans, Hurwitz, and Smith law firm. And let me just tell you what she does over there. She assists her clients with employee benefits issues in all the areas of employment law, including sexual harassment, race, sex, age, national origin, and disability discrimination, wrongful termination, wage and hour issues under the Fair Labor Standards Act, and of course issues related to FMLA. She consults on hiring and firing, drug testing, harassment, employment policies, company handbooks, employee contracts, non-compete agreements. I said to her earlier, I bet if someone asked you, what have you seen, she probably can say, hey, I've seen it all. So we'll find out today if you've got something going on that maybe she can add to her list if she's seen it all. Jean, thanks for coming. She's going to talk today about the most common HR mistakes that are going to leave you exposed.
Thank you, Kate.
Yes.
So, I know she did say that. She said, oh, I bet you've seen it all. I was like, oh, I always think that, you know, and then I get a call and I'm like, really? Never thought somebody'd ask me that. I had one of those this morning, actually. I set this up as the top 10, my top 10 list of things that I see as problem areas that I get a lot of questions about, or that I think there's a lot of misconceptions about as a lawyer, and you're looking for a little advice. And to be honest with you, it is an at-will employment state, but there's a really big but. And I think that the law, frankly, has almost, swallowed the rule anymore. That, yeah, it's an at-will employment state, and yep, you can fire them if they wear purple shoes and you don't like purple shoes, but you can't fire them for any illegal reason. You can't fire them for a discriminatory reason or for harassment or for any of the other seemingly 10,000 laws now that govern the employee-employment relationship. And you have to be able to prove that you had a reason that wasn't illegal for terminating them. And how do you do that? Paper trails, paper. Lawyers like documents. Courts like documents. You end up in a court. The adage among employment lawyers is if it is not documented, juries do not believe it happened. And so you have to be able to document that you complied with all these laws. This little clip art there, because that's how my clients, I think, feel most of the time. They're trying to walk this tightrope, make sure they don't fall off. But I've had clients say that I should, instead of having little sharks down there, I should have like little lawyers down there, snapping at their heels, because that's what they're all worried about, is that they're going to end up getting sued for something they've done. But we're just going to kind of go through some of the federal laws here. And it's just this whole, alphabet soup. All of these things are laws that you have to worry about and make sure that you've complied with them and that your reason for termination doesn't violate any of these. The Employee Polygraph Protection Act. Every time I give one of these presentations and I'm going to go through this list, I always think, oh, I'm going to take that one off. But I had a call last week because an employer gave a polygraph without asking me, and then the person's results were kind of iffy, and so they were going to fire them. I was like, that's not a good idea. Employers basically can't give a polygraph and fire somebody because of it. The requirements to do so are so cumbersome that you really can't get over it. Pregnancy Discrimination Act, I'm just kind of picking out some highlights here. That's one that there have been a lot of cases on lately. There's another one that I read this morning where we've had several in our office. Somebody is interviewing, makes a couple notes on a job application, comes out that this person is pregnant. And they're, generally when you're hiring, you're not hiring because you think you're going to need somebody a year from now, right? We aren't looking to put somebody in that position 12 months from now. We need somebody now. And that's the way most employers are when they're hiring. But at the same time, if you are hiring and it comes up that that person is pregnant, you have got to be really, really, really careful if you're not going to hire that person. Because the EEOC is they're all over these cases right now. If you've got in our case, one little notation on a job application said pregnant, and that was all it took. Our client felt very firmly that they hired the better qualified candidate, but they ended up paying money on that deal. Here's just some statistics for your kind of review to see that, you know, how many cases there are out there every year. These are just the EEOC national statistics. They've held fairly steady the last couple of years, but there are a lot of claims. And one thing I really wanted to point out is the retaliation column. So you've got all these protected classes, you know, sex, gender, race, age, disability. And for all of those, if somebody makes a claim that you've been discriminatory or somebody's done something bad based on their gender or based on their race, and they continue to work there, and then they say that their boss retaliated against them, and it's not really clear what that is, you're facing a retaliation claim. Those are the hardest, in my mind, employment situations to be in and try to work through successfully. Yeah.
I've heard it said that the retaliation claim is actually easier to prove than often the original discrimination
Absolutely.
claim.
You know, and you could have a really lousy discrimination claim, I mean, where you really weren't discriminated against. But just because you filed the claim, you're protected for expressing your view that you were, and then the retaliation is just so, you know, gray right now. It's not necessarily, I mean, clearly firing somebody for filing a charge if discrimination is going to be retaliation, but there are courts that say not inviting them out to lunch anymore might be retaliation. And you know, I mean, that's human nature. You know, you don't generally feel really warm and cuddly towards somebody and feel like socializing with somebody who's accused you of violating the law or doing something, you know, bad to them. And so those are difficult. They're really difficult. Okay, so that's my number one. I've got some other ones, but I didn't list the rest in kind of order. Really, the rest of this presentation is kind of walking through and trying to help you issue spot other areas where I see a lot of problems, where I see a lot of claims come up, kind of the problem areas that you need to be aware of. And we're just going to start with hiring, because that's where it all starts, you know.